Let me tell you about the night Damilare Okesola learned that 6 years of sacrifice can be erased in the space of a single sentence. Sit with me, this one takes a while to tell properly. And it should, because nothing about what happened to him happened quickly. 6 years, 14-hour days. A man who sent home almost every euro he earned to build a dream for the woman he loved. He did not know that the same week he came home to see it finished was the same week his whole life would be rebuilt from the ground up. That is where our story begins. Stay with me.
Dami grew up in Ajegunle, Lagos. A narrow house, zinc roof, the kind that turns into a drum every time the rain comes. His father drove a Danfo bus. Careful man, serious man. His mother sold akara before sunrise, and her hands never really stopped moving. They were not rich people, but they were dignified people. The kind of family that pays its bills and keeps its word. Dami studied engineering at the University of Lagos, graduated with honors, got a good job, was building a stable, quiet life for himself. And then he met Bisola. Bisola was bright, hungry. She talked about opening a restaurant the way other people talk about falling in love. Like it already existed somewhere and she was just waiting for the world to catch up. Dami believed her. Every word of it. When the offer came, a construction contract, 6 years, outside Dublin. Oh, the money was serious. Life-changing if he was careful. He sat with Bisola on her family's balcony in Surulere, and they did the math. Twice. I'll build the restaurant while you build over there. Soft, tender delivery, like recalling a memory that still hurts a little. When you come home, she told him, the doors will already be open. Our names will already be on the sign. He believed her completely. His best friend Tunde drove him to the airport, hugged him at the gate. I'll look after her, Tunde said. A voice that would come back around later, like a blade. What follows is 6 years folded into 100 repeating days. Grey Dublin drizzle, scaffolding against a flat, colourless sky. A shared house with 3 other men, and phone calls at 2 in the morning, because that was the only hour both their schedules allowed. Dami skipped the pints his co-workers bought to forget the monotony. Every unspent euro was a plank in the restaurant floor. He never once asked Bisola for a receipt. He never once doubted her. Now, there is someone else in this story. She doesn't know Dami yet. He doesn't know her either. But remember her name. Mrs. Eileen Whelan. 79 years old. A widow. A woman the neighborhood quietly calls the widow with the paintings. Estranged from her only son for 11 years. She appears twice in the background of this act. Once, buying flowers alone at a Sunday market. Once, arguing quietly with a bank officer about a will she keeps postponing. We don't know why this matters yet. That is the point. Back in Dublin, the 6th year is closing in. Bisola's calls are getting warmer. The kitchen is almost finished. Come home and see it, Dami. And Dami, on an impulse, a rare one for a careful man, decides not to tell her his exact flight. He wants to walk in. He wants to see her face. He wants to see her face. Friday evening, Lagos. Still in his work boots, straight off the plane, Dami takes a cab to the restaurant. And there it is. Fully finished. Fairy lights strung across the courtyard, 150 guests in Asoebi, a live band playing high life. And a banner that reads, "Not Bisola's Kitchen." Tunde and Bisola. Grand opening. And introduction. Dami does not scream. He stands very still. The way a building stands very still. Right before an engineer condemns it. Tunde sees him first. Something crosses his face. Not guilt, exactly. Something closer to mild inconvenience. You weren't supposed to see this yet. Not, "I'm sorry." A logistics complaint. Then Bisola. Calm. Almost bored. "We were going to tell you properly. Long distance doesn't work, Dami. You know that." And then to the guest standing nearest, like she's delivering a punchline. "He sent the money. I built the dream. Somebody had to be here to actually run it." And the crowd laughs. That specific cowardly kind of laughter. The kind that follows someone else's cue, so nobody has to be the only uncomfortable one in the room. This is the moment the movie ends its title. The weight of 6 years of gold. And what it buys a man is a punchline at his own introduction ceremony. He turns and walks. Not dramatically. Quietly. The way a man leaves a building he suddenly understands was never his. He ends up on Bar Beach at 2 in the morning. And this is where the film finally lets him break. Not in front of the crowd. Alone. The way real grief usually happens. Before flying back to Dublin, Dami does something very Dami. He goes to the land registry. Quietly. An engineer's habit. Checking the foundation. And he finds it. Tunde financed his half of the restaurant through a loan shark. Already under investigation. Using forged documents. Documents that list Dami as a co-signer. This isn't just heartbreak anymore. It's a legal threat. Ticking. He signs an affidavit, disavows the forged signature, and lets it go. Exit over war. The first sign of the man he's becoming. Back in Dublin, still dazed, Dami is walking through the airport when he sees her, Mrs. Eileen Whelan, surrounded by luggage, arguing with a man who is supposedly helping her. But Dami notices something. The helper isn't walking her towards the counters. He's walking her away from them. Dami steps in, loud enough to draw attention. The man vanishes into the crowd. A near miss. Possibly worse. Mrs. Whelan, shaking, waves off the police out of sheer pride and exhaustion. So Dami simply picks up her bags, walks her to her gate,
sits with her for 2 hours. Her card declines paying for water. He pays without comment. She studies him the entire time. You just lost something enormous, she says. Not a question. And still, you did this. Kindness isn't a reward system, ma'am, Dami says. If it only counts when it's convenient, it isn't kindness. She says nothing else, but she writes something down before they part.
Dami goes back to the site, back to Gozi, back to the scaffolding. Some men don't rob you with a gun, she tells him, over coffee at 4 in the morning. They rob you with your own trust. Takes longer. Hurts worse. And it's perfectly legal. 4 months pass. Then a phone call. A solicitor's office. Asking specifically for Damilare Okesola. They said it was good news, the site manager says, baffled. Dami does not call that night. He has learned the hard way not to let his heart run ahead of the facts. Mr. Declan Byrne tells him Mrs. Eileen Whelan passed away 11 weeks earlier. No living family present. Her own son, contacted for the funeral, did not come. And 10 weeks ago, after the airport, she rewrote her will. Byrne reads her letter aloud. Her son had left her years ago in almost the exact shape Dami had just survived. Used her, discarded her, called her in his final cruel phone call a woman I outgrew. She had spent 11 years believing kindness like Dami simply didn't exist anymore. And Dami, without knowing it, disproved her entire worldview in one airport terminal. She leaves him everything. Whelan Fine Arts Holdings, galleries across 3 continents, a vineyard, liquid assets. €95 million.
The way he always has. But back in Lagos, word travels. Tunde's restaurant, already sinking under a debt Dami is no longer legally attached to, collapses completely. Bisola leaves within the month. I think we both always knew who you really were. The irony lands on Tunde like scaffolding he built with his own hands. Tunde calls, tries every angle. Bisola manipulated him. It wasn't really his idea. There are still brothers underneath it. Then, finally, honestly, I need money, Dami. They'll take my mother's house too. And Dami almost says yes. Not out of weakness. Because Tunde's mother raised him like a second son. Back when his own parents worked nights. So
So he wires the exact amount, only enough to save her house, directly to her. This is for you, Mama Ronke, not for him. And then he never answers Tunde's calls again. It isn't forgiveness. It's precision. The same quality that made him a good engineer. He separates what's owed from who deserves it. 6 months later, Dami opens the second shift foundation. A little excitement now. Genuine. Legal review for contracts before workers go abroad. Emergency housing. Free counseling. Scholarships. Bisola's old dream reclaimed and finally given to people who actually deserve it. At the launch, in a courtyard that looks almost like the one where he was humiliated, Dami looks out at rows of returning workers. People who flew in because they had his story on a voice note passed through a diaspora group, one phone to another, to another, to another. Gozi in the front row, parents beside her. And Dami speaks. 6 years ago, I thought I was built.
Exhaustion. But an old woman in an airport once told me something I didn't understand until much later. Kindness that only exists when it's convenient was never kindness at all. It was just good manners with an exit clause. Keep the real kind, especially on the day someone tries to convince you it's foolish. Especially then. Dami does not become bitter. And he does not become a savior who forgets what those cold, grey years cost him. Years later, in a quiet foundation office, he sits across from a young engineer, reviewing a contract line by line. The exact ritual his own mother watched him do at 17, hunched over his father's dam for paperwork. He slides the contract back, corrected. Read everything twice, he says. Especially the people. Fairy lights again. Different ones this time. Over a crowd that actually deserves to be there. Not because he got rich. Because he got proof. The kind an engineer trusts most. Tested under load. And it held.